think there's real anxiety in the markets right now that this could spread and become a contagion. And of course, we've seen this happen before during certain financial crises. It's been a long time since something's been so self-inflicted, however.
Welcome back to the show, Gavin.
Hello, John. Pleasure to be with you, even under the circumstances.
Well, indeed, and under the circumstances, good to hear your voice. Gavin, can you just get us right up to date with the latest state of the markets?
Well, it's been a chaotic morning, as you've outlined here. We saw first some rumors of a 90-day pause on tariffs in some news outlets and on Twitter, or X as it's called now, and that pushed markets back into positive territory. The White House very quickly sent out the message to us and other news organizations that this was, as they like to say, fake news, and there's no indication of a delay on that. A lot of nations have been coming to the Trump administration asking for lower tariffs, but to this point, they don't seem to be acquiescing, and they seem ready to move forward with the reciprocal tariffs on April 9th. And so then we got the Trump Truth post about a 50% hike in tariffs. So that would be an additional, bringing us up to 104% tariffs on China if that was to go through. And that plunged the markets back into negative territory as well. So we're rolling with the punches here in Washington. And I think there's more of a pummeling to come.
It's just so fragile, isn't it? So brittle. But there's a danger, there's a fact now, I suppose, Gavin, that market slumping can become a self-fulfilling prophecy. I read that hedge funds, these all-powerful, heavy players, they're selling even strong assets now to reduce their exposure to risk.
Yeah, I think that there's a risk that the contagion could spread very quickly, and that, success breeds success, but also, that goes in the opposite direction as well. So if we don't start to see some indication, some positive news out of Washington soon, I think there's real anxiety in the markets right now that this could spread and become a contagion. And of course, we've seen this happen before during certain financial crises. It's been a long time since something's been so self-inflicted, however.
Yeah, I mean, what is? I put this to Anthony Scaramucci. What's the best advice to those world leaders calling Donald Trump and just trying to get a moment of his time, trying to make their case? It's not clear what would work, if anything would work. I know, Gavin, you are a reporter at the Journal. You're not one of the editorial writers, but editorial in your paper suggests maybe now is the time for those world leaders to accept no one is going to win a trade war. It's time to offer to scrap or cut tariffs and just hope the president claims a win, he likes his wins, and moves on. No knowing, though, if that would work.
I think that, starting with scrapping your own tariffs is a good place to start. But the thing that we've heard from White House advisors like Peter Navarro, who's really been driving a lot of this trade policy, is going to take more than tariffs. They want to see you bring down every single trade barrier that is in the way of U.S. goods coming to your market. So in the EU, for instance, that might mean agricultural regulations, that might mean agricultural subsidies, things that would be very difficult and damaging internally from a political standpoint for people to drop. I think the ultimate thing that Trump wants to see is the U.S. trade deficit disappear with many of these countries, and that may not even be possible in the short term, even if you drop all of your regulations, all of your tariffs. So the first thing I would say to foreign leaders is work on your golf swing, because that's probably the easiest way to get FaceTime with the president these days. And then think about what you can do domestically to bring down these barriers. If not, maybe start looking for other trading partners. Yeah,
well, there's only so much room on the first tee at those various golf courses.
Indeed.
However, it's as sound as the advice is going to get, I reckon. Gavin, thank you so much. Now, I want to welcome now to the programme Hal Labbert, who is described as a pro-Trump mega donor, a financier, founder of the Texas-based Point Bridge Capital firm. Hal, good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon.
I'm so interested in your view at this fragile moment. I keep hearing from and talking to business leaders, to economists who tell me they're really worried about where this may be leading. Are you worried, Hal?
I'm actually not worried. I think things are going to be settled relatively quickly. And when I mean by relatively quickly, I mean within the next month or so. I think you'll see trade deals reached where there's adjustments in trade policy between countries and the United States. It'll happen, I think, on a country-by-country basis. You saw reported over the weekend, a lot of countries have already called and want to start working with President Trump on adjusting things. So you look at what's happening. He wanted oil prices lower. The Saudis have stepped up and agreed to increase production out of Saudi Arabia with OPEC.
Yeah.
He has a good relationship with them. Interest rates are coming down. Those are two key things that Trump wants to happen. That's going to help middle income people a lot in the United States and, quite frankly, globally.
Yeah.
In the short term, we've got these markets roiled simply because people don't know where to put money when you have certain companies that benefit from tariffs and other companies that don't benefit from tariffs. So you've got a whipsaw going on around that. But I think it's going to be resolved much more quickly than people expect.
What is the route then to getting through this really, really difficult period? The European Union, their trade ministers have been meeting today in Luxembourg, and we're told now by a leading voice in the European Union that they're willing to consider cutting tariffs to zero, a zero tariff arrangement with the United States. That wouldn't be enough, though, would it, Hal? I mean, the president wants more than that. He's spoken about sales tax in Europe. He sees that as a tariff. Hard to imagine that being scrapped.
Well, you've got a VAT tax, right? And so, as an example, Germany, they put a 17 to 25% VAT tax on autos, which then they rebate a lot of that to their own German automakers internally. So it is effectively a tariff that they then turn around and rebate back to their own companies. So those are the kind of things he's talking about, where you have subsidizing favored industries, which, look, all these countries want to do it. You know, the United States wants to do it in some industries as well. But I think at the end of the day, if we're going to have free and fair trade, you can't have one side subsidizing much more than the other side. China does it with steel and aluminum and that kind of thing. So that's what's been going on. That's what he's trying to adjust globally, so that we do get to, I think would we all agree that zero tariffs would be beneficial to consumers across the board? It's going to hurt certain industries and companies in certain countries.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, if we did get to zero tariffs, that would likely be a positive.
Yeah. Well, I can imagine, in parts of Europe, there are going to be farmers, for example, and others who would think that's going to expose them to competition, which they are really rather frightened about. But I guess that just goes without saying. If we're ever to get to a position of balanced trade between America and Europe, say, if that's even possible, it would take a very long while, wouldn't it? I mean, have the American public got that kind of patience while prices are going up, while people are feeling the squeeze, while pensions are being devalued? There's going to be a lot of pressure.
Well, the stock market's indicating pressure, but we'll see what happens on prices. I mean, when tariffs were implemented in the first term, 20% tariffs on China, as an example, prices went up, a little over 0.5%. So it wasn't passed through all the way. It didn't cause inflation. We have tariffs all over the world right now. It doesn't seem to cause inflation.
But we've never seen tariffs whacked up to this extent. That hasn't happened before.
It hasn't. So we'll see what happens from a substitute basis. As an example, this is a very, a one-off example. I have a friend of mine that has a small aerospace parts business. The UK is one of his clients. They were in process, literally days away from moving the contract and production from that company here in the United States to India. And when Trump put on the tariffs, your UK company called in and said, nope, we're not going to do it. We're going to keep producing with you. They wanted to anyway, but they wanted to have, they couldn't keep up with the cost standpoint. So those are the kinds of things that are happening behind the scenes that you're not hearing about.
Yeah.
So it's not all one direction. I mean, we're hearing this one direction thing where we're hearing from the losers very loudly. But you're not hearing much about other groups that are winning on this. So it's not all one-sided. And I think Trump will cut deals. You're going to see it. And I think this pullback in the market, as we saw with just the rumor of a pause, caused the markets to turn positive on the day here in the U.S. I think you'll start to see that change as deals are cut.
Well, here's one thing, listening to you carefully, where I'm still rather confused. If you are right, and we're going to be seeing deals cut with different trading partners in the coming weeks, over the next, couple of months or so, and you do go down that route, well, then your tariffs, American tariffs, are going to be coming down. What on earth then happens to that talk about billions, trillions of revenue from tariffs flowing into America in a way and at a volume that's going to allow for tax cuts? That's just going to go out the window. Or is that sort of talk just hot air?
Well, I think the one country you may not see tariffs drop on is China. And obviously, they're the largest importer to the United States, exporter for them, importer to the United States. So literally hundreds of billions of dollars. And so I think that's what they're looking at. I think those tariffs may be more permanent than, for instance, the Europeans, the Canadians, the Mexicans. So that's one area. So no, I think you're going to see tariff taxes stay in place there. And again, what's that going to mean? That means that they're going to have to not circumvent it by making deals with Mexico. China circumvented tariffs by assembling things in Mexico and then calling them made in Mexico to avoid the tariffs, or Vietnam and others. He's going to move that off the table where that's not going to happen. And that's what you're really going to see. So we'll see what happens there. And I think that's the tax that you're going to see kind of more permanent that comes in, the tax revenues there.
Okay. I mean, you're in a way putting your bet on a trade war and hoping to benefit from a trade war with China. In a word, lastly, if I may, what do you then say to those Republican senators and Congress people who are sounding worried now, who are maybe worried about the midterm elections? What do you say to them in a nutshell?
Well, in a nutshell, they need to move away from the worldview that, tariffs, if the United States uses tariffs in a certain way, that's bad for the United States. I don't think it is. I think they need to trust Trump on this. Many of them, if you look at Senator Rand Paul, Rand Paul's a friend of mine. He's more of a libertarian. He wants there to be no government interference at all. And it doesn't matter if other countries put tariffs on the United States, we shouldn't retaliate. I just don't think that worldview holds. We've seen it not work well over the past 20 years, especially with China. And so Trump is going to readjust the world order from that perspective. And I think they need to just sit back and see what happens, give it a little bit of time here, and not just jump out because the stock market sold off and say that we've got to change things.
All right. Hal Lambert, high-value donor to Donald Trump and a financier. Good to talk to you. Thank you.